if you can be that fully in the moment, my fully in the moment was just telling my dogs to get away from the window because everybody in the neighborhood is fully in their moment walking their dogs. My dogs go nuts. Sorry about that. Had to stop it. If you can be fully in the moment, you will become enlightened. And this comes from this old Buddhist story. The Buddha has been going around India, which is where Buddhism comes from, and he's been giving these Dharma talks. Dharma is teaching. So he's teaching how to be this enlightened being. And he shows up at one of these talks, and everybody's excited. They're gathered around the park. They're waiting for the Buddha to come on. Breathless, wondering, like, what is he going to teach? What wisdom am I going to come away with today? And the Buddha makes his way through the crowd, across the field, up to a little rise where everybody sat around so that he can be seen and heard by everybody. And he stops at the rise, and he looks around, he surveys the crowd, sees who's there, and he reaches into his sleeve, much like we reach into a pocket, and he pulls out a flower. And he holds it up, and he just smiles. Doesn't say a word. And people are waiting. What's he going to say about the flower? This is some kind of big point on nature and enlightenment and how. And he says not a word. And now at this point, people are starting to fidget. They're looking at their neighbors like, is something wrong? Maybe we've done something wrong, and he's not teaching us, or maybe something's wrong with him. Like who knows? And suddenly, one of the Buddhist followers, in some stories, it's this guy Joshu, and others, different names. Let's call him Joshu for now. Joshu looks up and gets this beaming smile on his face. Because without a single word, he's shared this moment with the Buddha. This moment that when the Buddha picks a flower and he looks at it, that flower represents everything. He's fully concentrating on it, and he can see all of the sunshine, the water, the minerals in the soil that went into making this delicate, beautiful flower that is an entire moment in your lifetime. And Joshu gets it with a snap. He's enlightened. What happens to the rest of the crowd at the park? We don't really get told. I'm imagining they go home feeling fairly darn disappointed because, hey, at the last talk, a bunch of people didn't get enlightened, but at least they got a real talk and some questions and all these exciting lessons that they could brag about. I get to go home and tell my friends, I saw the Buddha pull out a flower. Disappointing when your friend is saying, I saw the Buddha speak about how the lifetime of a man was like a turtle swimming up through the ocean to the surface, and if you were lucky enough to break the surface near an island, it was like the luck to be enlightened. Like, it would be disappointing to say, dang, I saw a flower, that's it. Like, sorry guys. But the point is, this whole idea of recognizing an entire world in a moment is key to Zen Buddhism. And this is the Buddhism that the noble classes, the samurai, the daimyo practice. So there's a definite religious element of, wow, we are going and writing this poem to represent a Buddhist moment, this awakening to life on the road. The second thing is, this is also part of the reason that samurai were so into Zen Buddhism, is a moment for a samurai is key, because when they're fighting with these swords that they are famous for using, and prior to that, the bows that they are famous for using, this is not a Hollywood sword fight where swords are banging against each other and guys are flipping through the air and jumping over each other's blades and kicking each other. This is two opponents facing each other, and they draw their swords, they get into their stance, and when one of them realizes that the other has a weakness or feels that he has a chance, he attacks, and there's an immediate counterattack. And if your attack wins, you cut through, you kill him with one shot. And if your attack misses with the counterattack, you are cut down. You are finished. And so this idea of writing a poem to remind you of how important it is to pay attention to every single moment is also reminding you that you better pay attention, because death is only a moment away if you're not paying attention. Now, this like twofold thing really comes to the fore, and you see this not just in Japanese poetry but in a lot of Japanese art. So what you'll see are these beautiful ink drawings, and if you look at them, they're done with a very, very few brush strokes. So it's capturing a moment as quickly as possible. Now I'm going to jump back to the ellipses up here, dot, dot, dot. And that pause, this is the other thing that isn't commonly taught about haiku. They have this wonderful expression. In English, we translate it as a cutting word. And it's not so much a word, it's a syllable added to a Japanese word that the closest we can get it in English is it's almost like punctuation, an exclamation point, an ellipses for a pause, or a question mark, even a comma, like a small, what's that about? And these are in haiku because paying attention to the moment means like it's sudden, and so that's what these cutting words represent. So he's walking along, it's hot, he's tired, he's dusty. Wow, look at over there, a bud on a branch. And so that's that ellipses, is a cutting of your attention from what is all going on to the special thing that you see. So you'll see these in translations of haiku showing up as question marks, as commas, ellipses, exclamation marks. I have this wonderful old book from 1960 all about haiku. Of course, when you read these old haiku, it's frustrating as an English speaker because they don't fall into 3 lines of 7-5-7-5. They're directly translated, and so often they'll have 2, sometimes 3. But you will notice in these old translations that they've got these cutting words, these exclamation marks, these ellipses, these question marks. So here, Waking at an Inn by a poet named Soseki. And we've got, through white mosquito nets, as yet undrawn, how cool the bay looks in the summer dawn! Exclamation point. And so we've got 2 commas there and an exclamation. We've got these cutting words where we've got this poet and he's woken up in the morning, the mosquito nets are hanging there. He rolls over, he looks out the window, oh, the start of another day, and how beautiful the bay looks, how cool the waters are. Life is beautiful. And a lot of these poems have that. So what I am going to be challenging you to do here is to create 12 haiku. I have an assignment sheet that is also on the D2L. It'll remind you of all this. But you are going to write your classic English haiku, 5-7-5, 3 lines, so many syllables. But I'm going to challenge you in each of your haiku to have some mention of a season. So you're going to have 3 poems for spring, 3 for summer, 3 for fall, and 3 for winter. And there should be some word in each poem that lets me know what season the poem belongs to. And then you are going to have either an ellipses, an exclamation mark, or a question mark. I will also include a comma because those can apply. Show me how you could use those cutting words to separate the big idea from the immediate idea. Now, that is going to be up, and I am also posting 2 videos that are not my own. They are wonderful, though. And the first is a pair of YouTubers that live in Japan, husband and wife couple, and they go to an Aikido class, and the teacher talks about the difference between Hollywood movies and how the samurai really fought and how instantaneous it was. It's very cool to see, and the YouTubers are pretty good. It's funny, it's amusing. The second is a video of a sword school in Japan that was created by this famous samurai Miyamoto Musashi. He's very famous for a number of reasons. He wrote a great book called The Book of Five Rings. I know we started reading some of it in class. He was good at killing people, though. Primarily, that's the fame. That's what he wrote the book about. How to be great like me. How to kill people. Very, very well. He was good at it. He started at age 12. He worked his way up until he was in his 30s and decided, I don't need a real sword. I'm going to use a stick of wood to beat people to death. And by the time he was in his 50s, he sat down and said, there's nothing that I can't do because I have mastered this. And that Zen thing means mastering one thing, means mastering everything. I've mastered everything. I'm going to sit back in a cave. And he did in many ways master everything because he was a brilliant writer and a brilliant painter. So this video shows just how quickly these battles are as well. They show two practitioners of his art, and you'll see them multiple times. They get ready, they face each other, bang. And if you pause it, you'll be able to see who won, who lost, because you can tell whose sword would have killed the other guy. Fight's over instantly. So that video will also be up, and I am going to further later on post a slideshow of some of Musashi's brilliant paintings so that you can see how simple the lines are and yet how beautiful and how well they capture a moment. So with no further ado, I will be stopping this video. I'm sorry, it's going to actually show up as two videos because I had to stop it to stop my dogs from barking continuously. So this will be This is the Way of Humanities, Haiku, Part A, Part B. Please watch both. Watch the two YouTube links that I will post up, and then look for your haiku assignment. And later on through the week, be sure to watch. I will make an announcement when that lovely slideshow of Mr. Musashi's art is up. I hope you're all doing well in this continued confinement. Hey, at least on the plus side, the weather is warm so that you can go out, keep your social distance, and keep some of your sanity by seeing the world a little bit. Marks are going to be rolling in onto Power School. For your first assignment, I have marked all of them. Your second assignment, I have received probably 5 or 10 submissions. It is due at the end of this week, Friday. Reminder, bing, bing. As I mark those this week, they will also be posting up. I know that Miss Cuthbertson has begun speaking to some of you who have not handed this in. Rest assured that I am going to join her in speeding up those phone calls. So, please continue to submit your work or expect a phone call. And thinking on that, remember, this is the way of humanities. Have a great day, folks. Bye-bye.